Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. I've got a new pitch for you today with one of the most difficult titles I will ever have to work with.
Yes.
First
Bad
and
titles?
last place.
First and last place. Bad titles
Yeah.
or just difficult? Because if it's a bad title, I apologize. But if it's difficult,
First and last place.
Make no apologies.
I don't know. And maybe it might be a bad title for the show I started doing. First and last place, I feel like I almost had to do like a racing show, which is what I didn't do.
Yeah.
Like part of me, I started writing a Formula One show. Because I don't know if you know this, Charlie, but I've gotten really into Formula One recently.
I figured.
But I didn't do that because I couldn't. I mean, like, it just feels like so. I don't know. It's so like atypical. Or not atypical. Just like so, stereotypical. Just like, oh, there's gonna be two drivers and they're fighting
and they're mad at each other.
Like,
And they might want to kiss a little bit, but they don't. I
couldn't think of a way to like get people like that's not interesting,
Yeah.
I mean, for like an audio medium, I got to make this interesting, This has got to be something that's a little confusing or funny or something.
Yeah.
So,
can I tell you, because for all of the titles I come up with, I do usually I'll have like just a snippet of an idea that I'm like, well, that could be interesting, And then I give the titles to you. My idea was about an temporal wizard who exists in the beginning and the end of the universe. That was kind of where I was thinking, I took the first and last place, and I was like, I'm gonna abstract that as far as I possibly can, and I want to see what you do with it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what fun stories you have for us.
Okay. First off, like last time, I'm going to ask for a possible title variation.
Okay.
I'm fine with first and last place, but I also thought if this would work for you, first but last.
I'll accept it.
Okay. I was nervous. All right. Either one works, really. But so instead of a racing show or a show about a wizard that's in one place and another at the same time, the end of time and the beginning of time at the same time, I've got I wrote a note at the top of my show under a short summary of idea. It just says a guy who is simultaneously the emperor of a massive space imperium and also a random foot soldier on the front line. So
yes,
that is the short summary of my show.
I like it.
It's in the far future space. All right, so we are following Emperor Darrien Drake, or Futz. Darrien Drake is the emperor name. Futz is the soldier's name.
I figured.
F-U-T-Z.
Yeah.
Darrien is a poised, ruthless, tactical, and highly charismatic, handsome man in his mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
I wrote if he's JFK, if JFK was also Caesar.
Okay.
He's kind of like Octavian, if you know anything about Augustus or Octavian.
I know a bit. I took Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire into high school.
So, he's cool, he's charismatic, but he's also kind of like a ruthless political and militaristic figure.
Yeah, bit of a dick.
Futz, on the other hand, is funny, smart, thin. He's by thin, like his gear is too big for him.
Okay.
And he's in his early 20s. So the point of this is that it's the same guy. It is the same guy, except his characteristics that make him Darrien.
Yeah.
In the body of Futz, instead of being charismatic, he's just funny. Instead of being like, tactical, he's just a guy that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the way these transition to someone that is, imposing physically and has a big, repertoire of experience versus that mind in a guy who's like not the most, handsome person. He's very thin, kind of frail, and is at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to people.
A little bit,
but
of
it is
a
the same
wiener.
guy. So like, it's the same, brain.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a bit.
Oh, so is this...
Some of the characters...
I'm thinking, is this like... Now, I've fallen off of Rick and Morty as of late, but I have seen the episode where Rick and Jerry switch minds. Is it kind of like that? Where it's like the brain is hardware and the mind is software? right? So they have the same
No,
brain.
it's not literally swapping.
Yeah.
We'll get into how the swapping happens.
Okay. I'm curious.
There's not gonna be. You're not gonna get a real technical explanation of how it happens. It's gonna be kind of left vague.
That's okay.
Until the end, and then the end leaves it vague as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So Commander Jax is Futz's leading officer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tough, all-around leader. Takes care of his boys, but pushes them hard. He's in his late 30s. I imagine like someone real, kind of hardy for this. So we could have Tom Hardy, haha. Or like a who's the guy that plays the villain in Walking Dead? I think his name's like Dean Morgan or something. Like
Jeffrey
that.
Dean Morgan.
He looks cool.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah, he's the guy that played Batman's dad.
For 5 seconds in BBS.
Yeah.
He's in the latest season of The Boys. If you've been watching The Boys.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I plan on watching it soon. I've only really been keeping up with House of the Dragon.
I just finished episode 8 of season 4 last night, or the night before that, and no spoilers here because I'm not a monster, but that show's sick. I really like that show. It's very fun.
That's good. That's good to hear. Next, we have Syl. Syl is the team's sniper. Very aloof, camps away from the rest of the people. She's very quiet, and she likes to play cards. She's in her 20s.
Okay.
We have Puddle. Puddle is a big lark of a man, is what I wrote here.
A big lark? Isn't a lark a kind of bird?
I think it's a tree, isn't it? A lark.
I'm Googling it. You keep telling me about him.
That's what I meant. I think it's larch. It's actually the tree. He sweats heavily. That's why he's called Puddle.
Okay, that's fun.
He's chaotic in a fight. Easy to anger, but likes a good joke. He's in his mid-20s. So, like, Syl's like, 23 or something. He's like 26, 27, maybe.
He's close in age to me, an old man. I'm an old man now in my life.
Yeah. You and I are I am like a month or two older than you. We are not
We're old men.
We're in the transition point from early to mid-20s.
We're in our mid-20s. I'm in my mid-20s. I know that.
I think it's I don't know if it's 23 is the end of your early or
yeah, because it goes
I feel like in a
20...
couple in like by the time like you're halfway through 24, I think that's when you hit mid-20s.
24, 25 and 26 are your mid-20s. 27, 28 and 29 are your late 20s. 20, 21, 22, 23 are your early 20s, All
right, you heard it here first, Charlie's.
I figured it out. And I am I'm in my mid-20s now. That means I'm an old man. All right, I've failed. Mm-hmm. My greatest achievement in life has been being the host of this podcast. That's it. That's been it. So, this is Charlie signing off, or Charles Long, sorry. Signing off.
Speaking of someone who's failed, next character is Miles, who's very experienced, seen a lot, he's used to the rest of the group dying, so he doesn't really like to make connections with anyone. He's only close to Jax, the commander of the group. Miles is also in his late 30s. And there's kind of like some questions about why Miles is in his late 30s and still just a basic, squad member of this group instead of having his own squad.
Yeah.
And that's because he's got a bad attitude.
I thought he was going to be in love with Jax.
Piece of shit.
Okay.
Nah, he's a piece of shit, Miles. Not really a piece of shit. He's just like, no one really likes Miles.
He's kind of a dick. That's fine.
Now we're getting to the Emperor's friend / associate / people around him. That is Empress Claudia, so his wife. She's stern and calculated. She likes Darrien because of his strength, not his personality.
Yeah.
And the reason they got married is because she's part of a very influential imperial family. So, it's not a marriage of love. It's more of a marriage of politics.
Okay.
Then we have Director Osterich. Mm-hmm. Osterich is the father of Claudia. He's the manager of the war cabinet for the Empire. He likes Darrien for his ruthless approach and supported him through his rise to power, as you can see by the fact that
he's in power. Yeah.
And also that. But he's only really connected to him through Claudia and would be open to gaining power himself. So he's not really an ally, but not a opponent, unless, he shows weakness, then he might seize the opportunity.
Okay.
Then we have Master Lurk. Master Lurk is the head of administration for the Empire. He's a close ally of Darrien. But their friendship is more of convenience. They sort of work their way up together. But Lurk is not you could just tell by his last name, he's not really the most, he's a deceitful guy. He can be convinced of things.
He's lurking around.
Then we've got Darrien's only real friend, who's Senator Orion.
Okay.
He's a solved political negotiator, so very charismatic. Everybody likes Orion. He's nothing not to like about him.
Yeah, he's the RFK of this situation. All right.
Yeah, he's RFK. If Darrien's JFK, he's RFK. He helps keep the Senate in Darrien's favor. So he's like the majority leader of the Senate.
Okay.
And then we have Senator Vance, who's the minority leader of the Senate. And despite Darrien, despises Darrien and wants power for himself, but proclaims that he's like the voice of the Senate. That's kind of like his thing is like it's sort of like a God, what's his name? Like what Pompey was doing when this reference sucks if you don't know anything about Roman history, but sort of like Pompey's role against Caesar, where he's like saying he's like the guy that's backing the old republic, and Caesar's trying to tear it down. But really, Pompey's kind of just as ruthless and wants power as much as Caesar. So Vance sort of claims that he wants to restore things to the old republic. But he's just as conniving and wants power just like everybody else.
And here I thought Pompey was some sort of like a town that got blown up by a volcano. You learn something new every day here at the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. Podcast.
It is spelled the same way though.
We're a couple of educators. We teach people. We help people. Give us money. Give us cash.
Okay. And just mail it to Charlie.
Yeah, that's fun.
We won't tell you where he lives,
Just send $1 to every address in the book, right? In the big book of addresses.
Charlie on a dollar, on an American dollar, and put it in your mailbox, and it'll get there.
It'll get to me. I'll get it. Don't worry.
Yeah, you'll get it. All right, so that's the end of the characters. Let's get into episode 1 before you get too bored.
I'm not bored. I'm fascinated.
Episode 1. Emperor Darrien wakes up in a splendorous white bed that's raised on marble steps. He walks down into the bathroom to see, his handsome face, strong body. Servants pile in to dress him. His wife Claudia comes in and details the plan for today's council meeting. He agrees, and they reach a massive throne room that reveals they're in a stunning floating city in the clouds. Crowds are waving and cheering as he passes. He's returning their waves. Some soldiers are turning around and saluting him. He gets into the council meeting. All the important people are there. Director Ostrich arrives, and he advises the emperor to push them in harder on the war front if they ever hope to finish off the Sumerians before the summer solstice election. So we're getting a lot of this is where we're getting the politics of blah 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 stuff.
And I'm kind of getting the idea that this is sort of like a pseudo Roman, Greek, Byzantine empire, but in space, like futuristic Dune-esque, like sci-fi technology mixed with old-timey politics, and he's wearing a robe or a tunic or a toga or whatever.
Toga, yeah.
Yeah,
very much like that, yes.
Sandals all around.
We're going to see a little bit of a difference once we switch. You'll see that in a second. But, so we're getting the politics here. So we got Director Ostrich, clearly he's a big war guy. He wants them to keep pushing harder in this war that they're in.
Yeah.
Master Lurk, who's the administrator, if you remember, he assures them that the senatorial elections will not affect their standing. But Ostrich claims that even the slightest hint of a slip on power could undermine their control of the empire. So, we got a sense that elections are important, but they're also not really important.
Yeah.
Because he's still the emperor either way. But if there's too much of a sway in the elections for the Senate, maybe, a coup might be on the cards.
So the election.
So Master Lurk is saying not on the cards. It's fine.
Yeah.
But there's still some concern.
But he's probably, like, mincing around in the background. We'll see him, talking with people, whispering. He's maybe not to be fully trusted. He's giving big little finger vibes,
Yes.
That's like, he'll help.
He might be obscuring something. Osterich is clearly not in the loop for whatever Lurk is obscuring or not obscuring. But he also has, a sense of things aren't quite as good as they seem at the moment.
Exactly. Okay.
Might be some shaky ground, but it's stable right now. Darrien agrees, and he heads. So he agrees to the war plan to push the men harder. And he agrees as he heads to the Senate House, where he meets Senator Ryan, who warns him that Senator Vance is giving another seditious speech. So he goes into the Senate House, and Vance finishes strongly about how the Imperium must finish off the Sumerian threat, quickly, and we can't, keep dilly-dallying around. And he yields the floor to Darrien, who gives, a righteous speech that assuages the senators who were just sort of upset a little bit by Senator Vance's speech. So Vance got them all riled up, but Darrien, calms everything down, and he convinces them, that we got the war under control. It'll be okay. Their emperor then heads to discuss and assess the war effort with his generals, who are suggesting a full-scale invasion. Darrien, suggests a full-scale invasion. So he's got a lot on his mind. He just talked to his wife as he was coming into this meeting, and it's clear that everybody is sort of pressuring him to put more on the war effort because it's not going as well as planned, and he needs a swift victory to, before the election. He's what he's thinking. I need everyone in.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of everyone's problems. I need to win this war as quickly as possible, and the best way to do that is a full-scale invasion. Some of the generals are a little concerned about this because they're saying there's a lot of guys on the planet. We're not really ready. We got to bombard it more. There's a lot of anti-air. A lot of our guys could die on the descent. We're not getting specifics, but we're getting a feeling that the invasion might not go as well. A lot of people could die. They might win, but it's kind of like a 50-50 if they invade.
Yeah.
And Darrien is
not a good
thinks
idea.
that the 50-50 is necessary. So it might not be necessary, but he needs a swift victory for political reasons. So he dismisses these worries and tells them that casualties are to be expected. Darrien finishes off the night by boarding a fine silver ship headed to a conference with their allies. He lays down in a bed, this nice comfy white bed, all tucked in,
all cozied in. He's probably got some concubines,
fine pajamas. Everything's all good. And as his eyes close and he drifts off to sleep, he is suddenly woken up by rough hands yanking him out of a chair. It's Commander Jax yelling at him in the face to get to his feet. Darrien tries to protest, what's going on? I'm the Emperor, and everyone just keeps shoving him around and calling him an idiot and calling him Futz.
Yeah.
And
slapping him
Syl
about.
comes up to him and tells him to shut up, and Puddle throws him in a set of armor, and he barely catches it, and in the dull shine of the metal plates, he sees a very different face. He panics, obviously, because he sees a face that isn't his own, and drops it, causing Puddle to get fucking furious at him. Puddle, reminder, is the big fucking dude who sweats a lot.
Yeah.
So Puddle starts, yelling in his face and shoving him, and Commander Jax calms Puddle down and then pulls Futz aside and tells him to get his shit together.
So Puddle, I just have an image of Puddle just screaming right in his face. I'm imagining kind of like a bigger dude, tall, muscular, but having a bit of paunch. He's got short cropped blonde hair, and sweat is just flicking off of it and flying off of his lips mixed with spit, and it's getting all over his face. And he's just fucking grossed out.
And as a guy that is literally Emperor, right? This is something unimaginable to happen to you.
Of course. This guy's lived in the lap of luxury his entire life, because I imagine he didn't, start from the bottom and now we hear Drake style, right? He was, probably a nobleman's son before he was Emperor.
Yeah. It was an aristocrat rising to power, not a, nothing to everything.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, Futz, nods kind of quietly after getting yelled at by everyone and goes to the bathroom, where he confirms that the face that is on his face is not his. He starts, pulling on his face, classic movie style,
Yeah.
And tries to wake himself up, but to no avail. So, he's thinking this is a dream. Is it? I don't know what this is. And as he's, sort of reckoning with his life that is not his. Puddle walks in, yells at him again for not getting suited up, which causes Futz to get ready quickly because he's scared of the big man.
He
lines up,
scared.
he gets on his armor. It doesn't really fit properly. It's just it's like one size too small. Charlie, you ever wear a shoe that's like just one size too big? That's what I'm saying.
You feel like a fucking clown.
Or a shirt,
Yeah.
It's like it just slips a little bit. His shirt doesn't quite fit. The armor is kind of like, moving around a little bit.
Yeah.
He does not like what he's wearing. So he's lining up with everyone else. So they're on like a big sort of carrier ship, but it's kind of rickety. And so like things are kind of like bouncing around, and they can hear like explosions outside. And so this is like kind of a little stressful place, and there's tons of people around him. And they're all getting shoved into these tiny little drop pods. And tons of men are all around him crying and puking and complaining and saying they're going to die and cursing the Emperor and all this shit. And Jax gives him a little bit of instructions, which are all confusing and contradictory.
Of course.
So everything he's saying is like, you want to do this, but don't do this, and do this, but don't do what I just said to do if this happens.
Yeah.
And so
you need to detonate.
He's trying to take in everything he's saying.
You have to detonate that anti-air cannon, but you can't use any explosives because that'll allow the enemy to know where we are. Shit like that,
Mm-hmm. And then he tells him finally, he's like, okay, but when we get within 400 meters of the ground, pull this red lever. And as the door shuts, Futz yells, wait, how do I know I'm... Where he's like, where's the lever? And then the door shuts. Because he says this red lever, but he doesn't actually, he just like points to the wall, so there's no lever there. So Futz is confused out of his mind, but the door shuts and the pod gets dropped through space. And so he's absolutely terrified. He's scrambling to find the lever, like just scratching on the walls, looking everywhere. And he's like, where's the fucking red lever? Like just panicking, looking everywhere. And he's also, he's falling through space, and through the atmosphere. So he's fighting the G-force as he's doing it, so he can't really move freely.
Yeah.
And within 200 meters of the ground, so he's well below 400 meters now, he realizes that there's he punches the wall and like the panel bends, and he realizes that the lever is behind a hidden panel, and he pulls it out, yanks the lever, manages to get it out in time before he hits the ground at fucking terminal velocity.
Mach 9 or whatever.
Yeah. And so he flops out, puking on the ground because he hit the ground too hard, and also because he just fell through space.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get himself together in the middle of a dark forest. There's gunfire everywhere. Nothing too close, but you can hear the rattling of gunfire and laser shots and all this madness, and people are screaming. And it's just the most horrendous. It sounds like the most horrendous thing is happening a mile away from him. You know? So it's not on top of him. And as he's trying to get himself together, his radio clicks on, and Jax is yelling for Indigo Squad, which is, he assumes it's his squad, to get to the rally point. And then Puddle clicks onto the radio and says if Futz doesn't make it, he will personally go over there and rip him in two. So Futz starts running through the forest, not 100% sure where he's supposed to go. But in his gear, he finds a rally point marked on a kind of difficult to read map, but, Futz / Emperor Darrien, he's certainly not a military man, but he has seen lots of military documents and stuff, and he knows he can read this map. He knows, he's seen some of this stuff before, but on a much larger scale, because he's used to planning massive war efforts, not being the dude on the ground doing the actual stuff that he's planning.
Yeah.
So there's a ridgeline that looks vaguely somewhat familiar, and there's a marker on it, and so he uses that as his guide. And he's following the ridgeline, and he's on his way. And as he does, he hears a blood-curdling scream. This time it was a lot closer. So before it sounded like it was a mile away. This sounds like it could be just 50, 100 yards away.
Oh, that is close.
That's very close, yes. But it's just far enough, and he's spinning around. He can't exactly see it, and it's kind of echoey too. So it's kind of hard to tell if it's. It could be 50 to 100 yards away. It could be 600 yards away. It's, one of those.
One of those freaky things.
And here's that shot, and the laser shot randomly flicks through the woods and burns the tree next to him. He dives for cover, panicked, and he's breathing heavily. And it takes him a while to realize that the shot was just sort of someone missing and hitting his tree.
Yeah.
Someone missed a mile away, and it just flew all that far and hit that tree. And he carefully continues onward, as it gets on darker and darker. And he isn't too far from the rally point now. So he's looking at his map. He's getting a little closer. And just as he starts to get confident, feeling like, okay, I might actually make it to here on time, a humanoid pouncing metal robot with razor-sharp limbs slices the tree next to him right in half.
Oh, no.
He ducks
that's
and
really
starts
bad.
shooting, panicked, with his gun. His gun's not shooting right away. He's, like, trying to shove in the magazine. And he starts, firing away. The bullets are just flicking off it, doing absolutely nothing. And so he's obviously freaking out. He's running, but nothing's working at all. It slices through his chest armor and cuts him across the stomach. And he starts crawling under a log. It's poking through the log, in the classic sort of horror movie fashion, like barely missing him. And he's like dodging his body to the side and to the side. And he finally makes it to the other edge of the log, and the monster like pounces on him in the air. But mid-leap, a massive laser obliterates the creature just into fucking dust and sends it into a tree. And he turns to see Syl with his sniper rifle. And just as he does that, he passes out from the blood on his chest.
Yeah. Does he pass out from blood loss, or does he, like, touch it? Touch his chest like, oh my god, it nearly got me. And then he touches his chest, and then he looks down, sees his hand covered in blood, and then, because I think that would be fun.
And that would be funny, but I think it's a mixture of exhaustion, the fact that he's bleeding profusely, and that he's sort of weak in the stomach.
Yeah.
It's like sort of all three kind of coming together. So, that is the first episode. You're probably wondering, Jake, where the hell is this going? So,
I was wondering.
The way this season is gonna go. I'm just gonna sort of run through the rest. So it's kind of a back and forth between the lives of Darrien and Futz. And it's going to be every time one person passes out, it goes to the other person.
Okay.
So anytime one person goes to bed, he wakes up as the other one.
A little bit like Calcutta.
Yes, very much like that.
Yeah, I remember.
So, it's going back between their two lives. Darrien's life is, the high life political world, but it's going to get increasingly more difficult as times get on. So it's going to first seem like the first episode, you get the feeling of absolute luxury, really fucking shit. And as it goes on, Darrien's life is going to get much more complicated. There's going to be assassination attempts, the start of a possible civil war, the actual war that's going on, all while he's trying to connect with his apparent other self. So Darrien is going to be trying to find Futz, so that he can figure out what the hell is happening, why he's becoming Futz at night. And he's scared to die because he doesn't know that if dying in either one kills himself. So if he dies as Futz, will he wake up as Darrien, or is it all over? That's his, big concern.
Yeah. And so
meanwhile,
he
Futz
remembers
is living
everything.
in absolute hell.
Yeah,
he remembers both lives. So Darrien knows everything that's happening in Futz's world, and Futz knows everything that's happening in Darrien's world, because it's the same guy. He just wakes up. It's like if you went to bed one day and you just woke up as a whole other person. But you still have all your memories of your other life.
Okay. Cool.
The thing with Futz is that he does not have any memories of before that moment of getting woken up by Commander Jax.
So, no clue as to his origins whatsoever. Okay.
Yes. No idea why this is happening or anything. So, and meanwhile, while he, Commander, or the Emperor Darrien is, going through all this political insanity, Futz is working on the ground with, his squad members to try to take out this, Terminator factory, essentially. So it's all going to be based on that metal monster that attacked him then.
Yeah.
Which is sort of turning the war effort against the Empire. It's like they're going against these people they thought it wouldn't be, this was like a 50-50 shot when they initially dropped. Now it's like a 90-10 shot because these little metal monster things are absolutely wiping the floor with everybody that they're dropping in. And so they're trying to find the Terminator factory or whatever.
Yeah, we'll come up with a better name
making
for it.
These things, they're gonna blow it up.
Yeah,
whatever we want to call these robots. Now, the way the show is going to end is that in the final episode, Darrien, he's gonna sort out most of his political issues, or sort them out enough so that he can make it to this planet. And he's going to finally get to the surface. He's going to assuage his advisors enough and convince everyone and get himself to the surface despite being extremely dangerous. And he's going to make it to Futz's squad. And in the life that Futz is having at the same time, or, when Darrien falls asleep, the last thing that's going to happen before Darrien, finally gets to the planet is Futz is going to blow up along with that Sumerian Terminator facility.
Okay. Like by accident or on purpose?
This is going to be a big moment on the last episode where he's going to, make a decision to blow up the facility and die in it. And he, not knowing if he's going to wake up as Darrien or if it's just all over. Because he's the only one left in. He's got to destroy this facility. Millions of men are going to die if he doesn't do this.
Yeah.
Sort of a moment where you sort of look back at the first episode where he made the decision as the Emperor to push on the assault despite millions dying. Here he's making the same decision where it's selfless as opposed to selfish. He's deciding to protect his men.
A Groundhog Day situation. Groundhog Day situation. Jesus Christ.
Love a groundhog.
I love a ground dog. Yum, yum,
ground
yum.
Dog. Sounds like a good hot dog.
It does. Sounds like a hot dog made out of ground beef. Which, honestly, now that I've said it, doesn't sound that bad.
It's probably better than a hot dog.
Yeah. Hot dogs are mid.
They're not, they aren't good for you.
No, but they're mid, I would say, in taste-wise. I did put mayonnaise on a hot dog.
You can put a lot of good stuff on a hot dog to make it good.
Yeah.
It's bland enough that it can go with anything, You can put a lot of shit on a hot dog.
Chocolate. Yum, yum, yum.
No, not everything. Okay, so Darrien, he's going to make it there and meet the squad, and he's going to feel like he doesn't really have the answers. He doesn't know, his other self is dead, but it's sort of like final form. He's like, okay, this loop that I've been stuck in is over. Mm-hmm. I'm no longer this other guy. He's dead now, but I've made lives better, for the people under me and, that were with him. So that's good, I guess. And he's going to, sort of leave this feeling like he's a better man, a better emperor.
Yes.
And as we fade to black, we're going to hear the faint panting of someone, trapped under rubble. Oh, no. And a military crew yelling that there's one left still alive.
OMG.
So, at the end of the season, we get a little tease. Is Futz still alive? Is Darrien still Futz?
Has his, maybe Futz's original personality is taken back over. Maybe it was some sort of like a karmatic retribution thing from the universe. Or, maybe Lurk was doing something. I could definitely see Lurk using some sort of mind transference technology. Or someone doing that.
Trying to get him killed somehow.
Get him killed, or
I feel like I'd leave it vague, because I was trying to come up with a explanation. I have a couple possible ones, but I feel like it's much more satisfying to not know than it is to know.
I agree with you. I do think that I think what we would do is just leave hints for every possibility. Maybe we have Darius visit a witch at one point, just maybe it's magic. We have Lurk, talking with neuroscientists. Like, we have just things in the background, little keys that could be the facts, but, we just leave it open to interpretation for the audience. They can figure it out.
Or maybe it was just a dream. Maybe he wasn't actually Futz.
Yeah, maybe there was nobody named Futz, right? I think it would be...
Maybe he couldn't find his name on the log, and, for who he was, because it's a nickname.
Yeah.
That'd be good, too. So in the beginning, that'll be a whole thing, because all the guys just go by their nicknames. They don't go by their actual names. So he doesn't even know his real name as Futz. He just knows his name is Futz.
That would be good. I think the final shot of the show, because the first shot is Darius waking up in his beautiful, pristine white bed. I think it would be nice if, the whole crew dies, right? Because you're kind of giving, it's half Game of Thrones, half Band of Brothers, right? That's sort of the vibe I'm getting. And so his whole crew dies, and he goes to the barracks, by himself, and he, touches the walls, and it's he's remembering all of the bonding he did with this crew, and how these are the only guys he's ever known that have, treated him not like they're better, but like they're equal. And he maybe didn't realize how much he needed that as, somebody who is the Emperor, right? Like I needed someone to just be like my brother and not my, servant. And he, looks around and he, looks at things that mean something to him. He lays down and just goes to sleep in Futz's bed, right? So that's ending out, mirror shot to the first shot. But him in this dirty, gross, army bed that Darius the Emperor feels comforting, feels comfortable in for some reason. And then, cut to black, right? Credits go. At the end of the credits, we got one left. Blah, blah, blah. That thing. The post-credit sequence. Little tease for season 2, where Futz comes back and he's got a robot arm. Pretty cool.
We get canceled.
We get canceled. Because you make some bad tweets. We get canceled.
Yeah. I was just saying that Netflix cancels their show. I don't understand why I have to ruin my life.
You have to get canceled. Personally, I can't get canceled.
I feel like you would get canceled.
No, I've never been canceled, and I've never said or done anything cancelable. Who did you want to play the main character? Because we don't even really know the main character's name, right? Could be
Futz or Emperor Darrien?
Yeah, both. I figured it was the same actor.
It's gotta be different guys.
Different guys. Could be different guys.
It could be like brothers or something to sort of make it look similar.
That would be good.
That would be good. You know any good, somewhat young brother actor? Oh, I could do like if only the Hemsworths were younger. Because if I could have like a young Chris Hemsworth as Darrien, and then like one of the less good looking Hemsworths.
Like a Liam Hemsworth. Well, or you could